tenacity and persistence. Surprised how many, being on both sides, both selling and receiving calls from salespeople in an operations role here, I'm surprised how many salespeople give up too early on in the selling cycle. They give up, particularly when it comes to larger accounts. The bigger the account, the longer the selling cycle is going to be. There's just no way around it. But tenacity and persistence are what separate an excellent rep from just a standard rep. In terms of turning one of those into a client, we do so much digitally with our SEO and our SEM that we have folks calling us. For the most part, I think the real answer is in content marketing, and not to negate cold calling, because I'd be happy to go out there and do that as well. Again, there's no black and white answers, but for what we have learned is that content marketing, to be found, is more important than finding them, because buyers today are so they're strapped for time, and they're so suspect of any salespeople, particularly the younger generation. They use digital tools to find you. Once they find you and you give them the control, they have found you. They want to interact with you. That is a powerful position to be in. You're no longer in the position of begging for business from door after door. Now, that being said, I was just having a chat yesterday with someone in our company about the restaurant industry in our market, and one of the tactical things that we thought were important was cold calling the restaurant industry at the right time, mid-morning or early morning before the rush, but literally walking in to shake hands. So they're both viable options, but we found content marketing to be more important. Be found by your market, and you have a stronger position to actually convert that prospect or suspect into a sale. One of the biggest solutions, and this is going to sound a little counterintuitive, but one of the biggest solutions to handling rejection is making sure you have enough opportunities in the pipeline to where it doesn't devastate you. Meaning, it's really, really difficult to take rejection when you've banked and based all of your success on one particular project that's going to come through. So in our business, you can be selling, you can sell $1 million worth of transactional based sales, or you can do like program business like what we're in. But I have found this to be true for myself, because I'm actually the business development person for our program business. Is that the more we have in the pipeline, the less discouraged I get, the less the bad business I can say no to. So one of the most discouraging factors, though, is if you have this big opportunity on the hook, and it's basically the only opportunity, and it somehow becomes some salvific opportunity where it's going to save your business, or this is going to catapult you. It is devastating. You've got to have more than just that one single great opportunity in the pipeline, and that's truly it's a psychological game kind of, but you've got to keep enough in the pipeline to keep yourself from getting discouraged. Easier said than done, but that is, I think, truly the best way to do it. I would love to believe you can. Well, I say that. Everything that I have to say comes from our own experience, and one thing I have learned being in the industry and being around many distributors is that there isn't a black and white answer for everything. There are some distributors who can. They nail that massive sale, that massive project that catapults their career. It happens in the business. For the most part, though, you're beginning a client relationship with someone who's going to place a $100,000 order, a $70,000 order, a $200,000 order, and a $700 order. So it's not necessarily, but the biggest thing you got to keep in mind is the lifetime value of the client. Not necessarily just that transaction, but the lifetime value of that client, what they're going to mean to you over a 3 to 5 year period. I think you want to be diverse, but you want to lead with solutions. The bigger the client, you're not going to get to $1 million sales and $700 transactions for the most part. The bigger the client, the more you're going to have to lead with just product. You're going to have to lead with solutions. You're going to have to lead with value added. One of the biggest problems in our industry today is that distributors struggle with what is their value added. What is it that sets them apart from the person that can buy the same item from that same supplier in the industry? A lot of folks, you see a lot of creative folks leading with creative, leading with solutions-oriented business, whether it's services, additional services that they can do for the client. But the client wants to see value. They know they're a savvier buyer today than they were 10 years ago. They know they can turn to somebody else in our market and get the same product. So what is it going to distinguish you from your competition? That is probably something I have had to learn the hard way over the past several years, and I've had friends help me with this a lot. amazing to me. As much as I talk about lead with solutions, a program-oriented approach to business, that's a very long-term strategy. When it comes down to it, this is still people interacting with people. And I often get a negative rap in the industry for talking so much about digital solutions, but I don't neglect the face-to-face interaction with people. It's in fact, this evening I'm going to an event that's just purely for networking, purely to keep our brand in front of them. So that being said, the shows, the events, every time you interact with somebody, a supplier in our industry, it's an opportunity to discuss how do we make this partnership stronger. So I recommend that you really recognize behind the catalogs and behind the phone calls and behind the product pitches that there are real people trying to come up with real solutions, and removing the barriers and talking about ways that we can actually become stronger partners is really important.